So every time that I screw something up, I show it to her and she's like, oh yeah, this is a really common issue, blah, 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 blah. I told her what I did to my next project. And her response was, wow, I have no words. How did you do that? I didn't know anyone could do that. Wow, that's weird. Wow. Friends, when I tell you the last couple weeks have been a roller coaster whip-wise, I don't know if that even fully encompasses the enormity of WTF that I've been dealing with. I had one project that was going really well that I screwed up in a really stupid way. I have another project that I started because it was supposed to be fun and easy, and I almost finished and realized that I screwed it up in a way that I didn't even know was possible. Like, I still don't know how I managed to screw it up like that. And I have another project that was supposed to be impossible that's actually going really well. I don't know. Anyway, here's an update on how my summer knitting is going. I'm going to start with the smallest and most tragic of the projects, which was my Petal Party Crop. I started this because I was so overwhelmed and confused by trying to knit the Rib Lace Raglan by James N. Watts that I wanted to do something else that would be a little bit easier so that I could sort of get my sea legs and then maybe tackle it again. And it's not like the lace was perfect, right? Like, it's not amazing, but it isn't bad. Like, okay, this side's maybe a little worse. But I got this far. Well, I got a little further than this far. We're getting there. And I was going pretty well. I was pretty pleased with myself. But then I realized I had it on the wrong size cable. Not only did I have it on the wrong size cable, but I needed the cable that I had it on for something else. So in the process of trying to move this whip to a different, smaller cable, I accidentally dropped a lot of the lace stitches. I'm not at a place where I can figure out what the hell to do when you drop like a yarn over knit to. I have no idea what was going on in the parts that I dropped. And so even though the part that I have still looks pretty good, it's holding together, I just, like, the hell am I supposed to do up here? Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I can't tell. I'm not fluent in reading stitches enough to know, oh, I can just knit two together, yarn over all my way up these 3 rows. I don't freaking know. I'm gonna have to frog it. I'm just gonna have to frog it because I am not smart enough to figure out how to fix this. And it's such a shame because I do think it was going pretty well. I was feeling really confident about the lace work. Well, more confident about the lace work. It made sense to me in a way that the Rib Lace Raglan wasn't, and I was really cruising along. Well, cruising along in comparison to the Rib Lace Raglan, where I was maybe getting 1 row done a day. I was getting like 2 or 3 rows done a day of this because, you know, it's mostly stockinette. And yeah, I felt like it was going really well, but screwed it up in a really stupid way. And now I'm reaping the consequences of my own actions, I guess. So yeah, I'll be frogging this. I'll probably be getting back to it because I do definitely want that finished object. I don't know if I'm going to be getting back to it anytime soon, and I don't know if I'm going to be getting back to it in this yarn. After the emotional devastation of dropping all of those stitches, I need a break, and we'll see if the break becomes a conscious uncoupling or if we end up renewing our vows. But I learned a lot from this relationship, and I'll be taking forward those lessons in my heart. So are you ready for a little story about your girl, Elizabeth, and how she messed up a sweater in a way that is profoundly weird? I have this friend named Kate. She's been knitting since she was like 6 years old, and she's pretty much one of my only knitting friends. So I really appreciate her because every time that I'm knitting something and feeling discouraged or worried about how it's coming out, she always gives me a great perspective. You know, she's absolutely incredible. She's seen pretty much everything. She's helped people learn to knit before. She's just great. So every time that I screw something up, I show it to her and she's like, oh yeah, this is a really common issue, blah, 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 blah. I showed her my next project. Well, I told her what I did to my next project. And her response was, wow, I have no words. How did you do that? I didn't know anyone could do that. Wow, that's weird. Wow. So, okay, here's the project. This is the Short and Sweet Sweater by Beck Penner. I absolutely love this pattern. The mistake that I made has nothing to do with the pattern. This is all my own dumb brain, right? But it's looking pretty good. We'll talk about the issue that I came up with, but it's looking great. This is one of the nicest looking objects that I've ever made. I'm particularly happy. I don't know what it is, but something about where the ribbing, the cream ribbing goes into the gray just looks so professional to me. Like I'm so thrilled. And I love the fabric. This is the Cashmere Light yarn by Lang. And I love this yarn because it is a worsted weight, I believe, or maybe it's an Aran weight. And it gives you the feeling that you have mohair, even though you don't have to knit with it. It is a little bit more of an expensive yarn, but the great thing about it is you don't have to buy mohair if you're using this. If you've got like one of those fancy new patterns that calls for something held with mohair in order to make it worsted or Aran weight, you can just use this. So I really love this fabric. I really love the way that it was turning out. Where I split for sleeves, you can sort of see the tension getting a little wonky. So here's the thing. I was having a small issue with the pattern, which was that it's called the Short and Sweet Sweater. So it was supposed to be traditionally a little bit cropped, but Beck Penner always said, add more rows if you need to. And every time she would get to a place, this is one of the things I really love about the pattern. She would say, be sure at this point to try on the sweater. And if you want more space here, add some rows. I found myself adding a ton of rows in the weirdest places. Try it on, see if the armholes are hitting where you'd want the armholes to hit. They weren't. I needed to add like 20 something rows in order to get it. I figured that was normal because again, this was supposed to be a cropped sweater, right? And so then she's like, if you want more space between the armholes and the neck, add more rows. I added a bunch more rows and I was like, the neck still feels like it's gonna come lower than it looks like it should in the picture, but there's no way that I need to add that much more rows, right? So I'm not gonna bother. So I didn't add more rows. Okay, before I continue the story, I have to say, if it feels like the camera's jerking around or the camera's moving a lot, it's because it is. We continue to be in the middle of a ridiculous heat wave here in London, and the heat wave is so bad that my camera keeps overheating, and it keeps overheating specifically because the amount of heat coming from the ring light tripod apparatus that my camera's on is what's sending it over the edge. And all of that heat is being conducted through this asshole right here. This is the thing that you use to attach your camera to a tripod. And it's metal, and metal conducts heat, and that's really screwing up my camera right now. So I currently have the camera not actually screwed down to the tripod, and also I had to put a glove that I knit Aspen in between the tripod itself and the camera. So if you notice it moving around a lot, it's because it did. Anyway, so I added some amount of rows to like this portion, but not nearly as much as it felt like I should have, because I was like, surely I'm doing something wrong. I bet this gets a lot longer when I block it. I started working on something else and I realized I needed my 3.5 inch knitting needles, the tips for my interchangeables. I go to get them and there's only one there. And that's really confusing to me. And I noticed that there's only one of my 4mm too, which is extra confusing to me because the pattern that I was knitting, the short and sweet top, called for 5mm needles. Somehow, I had spent the whole time knitting with one 3.5 and one 4mm needle, and I didn't notice. I didn't notice when I was working in the round, I guess, because when you're working in the round, then it makes sense that you've only got one, but then I started working back and forth after I split for sleeves. So my gauge is completely wrong, which I maintain, okay? Swatching, I don't know would have helped me because I bet I would have swatched with the right needles, but I guess we'll never know. So that's why my gauge is all screwed up. I definitely was trying it on and the ease was not where I wanted it to be. I was expecting about 2 inches of positive ease and I was getting more like 0, maybe -1. And so it still looked cute, but it wasn't the look I was going for. And of course, it turns out it's because I was using the wrong needles the whole time. So I'm gonna finish the sweater as is. I guess I'm gonna, with 1 3.5 and 1 4, just not to screw up the gauge anymore, at least for that part. And then I'll probably just use 4s for the sleeves, I guess. I'm gonna make it. I'll see if it looks good on me. If it doesn't look good on me, I'll give it to Aspen or Gwen, and then I'll buy more yarn and just make the whole thing over again. And I guess we'll have matching sweaters. That's my plan now. I still don't know how this happened. I have been replaying it over and over in my mind. I don't know what I did. I don't know how this happened. Why were 3.5s even involved in the first place? Anyway, that's what's going on with the short and sweet. Now, if you're ready for the biggest surprise of all time. You guys, I've been making the Rib Lace Raglan by James N. Watts, and I got to the point where I joined in the round. I frogged this 4 times, and I've never gotten to the point where I joined in the round. And yeah, I've screwed it up a bunch, but I think it's okay. It turned out James N. Watts really did idiot-proof this. I didn't screw it up. You did a great job. I'm so excited. I did sort of swatch before I started this again because I felt like I owed James after the incident. I'm trying to idiot-proof this as much as I can, but James N. Watts has never met an idiot like me, I guess. And it's so frustrating. I want it this summer. I want it so bad. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I feel so stupid. And I hate the feeling so much. If James N. Watts sees this, help me. You're my only hope. So I didn't swatch with this yarn. I swatched with a different fingering weight yarn because I am worried about running out of this. I can't find this color. As far as I can tell, there's only one other skein of it available in the world, and I don't want to pay shipping from Berkeley, California right now. I think that's fine. So I swatched with a fingering weight yarn a little bit just because I wanted to get the muscle memory for getting the lace right. It turns out when you're not knitting back and forth, when you're not doing the knit purl, and when you're not doing increases, like I was able to sort of understand what was going on with the lace. And I'm not saying I haven't screwed up the lace. There's definitely parts of this that are like, have you ever seen those pictures of spider webs where they gave the spider various kinds of drugs like LSD or caffeine or alcohol or whatever, and then you see the incredibly screwed up webs they make? That's sort of what the beginning looks like on this Rib Lace Raglan. Like, oh look, it's my very first cable. Was I trying to cable? No. That's not what it should be doing. Yeah, my friend Kate tells me that lace always looks screwed up while you're knitting it until you block it. I'm going to wait until I feel like I've hit a milestone in the project, and then I might do my very first mid-project block just to see how it's turning out. But I'm so proud of myself for actually getting to the point where I could join in the round and for getting to the point where I can kind of see the pattern coming together. I mean, there's definitely some weird stuff going on here, I think, but maybe those are just the raglan increases. Maybe that's normal. Maybe that's fine. I guess a lot of this is we'll just see the further into the sweater I get. It's also, I think, surprising to me how dense the fabric is because this is just lace weight held double, but it's making a surprisingly thick fabric. So that's making me feel less bad about the delay in getting this started because I really wanted this for summer, but it would be way too warm for me to wear this right now. I think this is actually going to be a really great early fall piece for me, which coincidentally lines up perfectly with when I should hopefully have this done. See, here's another, like, what was I doing here? I don't know. But the good news is I think that's the back of the collar. So I'll only wear this when my hair is a certain length, is what I've decided. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. That's my mantra whenever I'm knitting anything is it'll all be fine. I've almost made like a very tiny cowl, and you know, that's exciting to me. I'm allowed to be excited. Okay. This is a project I wasn't going to show you because I have been working on a very long video about the start to finish process of this. I've been talking on and off in various videos about the fact that I'm knitting my husband a blanket for our anniversary. And since I'm going through all of my whips, I figured I'd show it. The idea of this blanket was that all of the yarn used in this blanket is from places that we've lived together and our hometown. You could say this is a self-drafted pattern, but I learned the Intarsia technique that I'm using from the Wedgwood scarf by Stephen West. So this is the blanket. This is half the blanket. I've got it doubled over, but I think it's going really well. So you can see all of this sort of charcoal gray yarn, that's from London. The bottom dark blue is my hometown of Great Falls, Montana. The bright blue is from Michigan. The blue-gray above that is from Seattle. The light blue is from Copenhagen. And yeah, I think for my first Intarsia, it's turning out really well. I couldn't be happier with it. So basically what I'm doing is I'm using a very simple Intarsia. It's, I think, a border of 12 garter stitch on the bottom, followed by 8 rows of stockinette, followed by 4 rows of garter. And the edges are six stitches stockinette. And yeah, it's slow going because it's so freaking big. I don't know how many stitches are on my needle. I'm gonna be so for real with you. I have no idea how many stitches are on my needle. What I did was I just cast on stitches until they were slightly bunched up, and I figured, yeah, this is a 60-inch cable, so that should be about what I'm going for a blanket that Adam could put over like his side of the bed. So yeah, it's going really, really well. The only thing I'm concerned about is how the hell I'm supposed to block this when it's done. Maybe I'll have to steam block it. I don't have a surface I can put it on. And it's gonna be November when I finish it, I'm pretty sure. And that means I definitely can't put it outside in order for it to dry. It's just gonna get more damp. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here, but so far so good. And be on the lookout significantly later this year for a video about the whole process of designing and knitting this. It does make me feel really good about Intarsia, actually. I was expecting it to be a lot harder than it is, and it makes me excited to tackle more Intarsia projects in the future. It also kind of makes me want to try stranded color work. Like if Intarsia is that much easier than I thought it would be, then maybe stranded color work isn't too hard. And I'm really looking forward to trying a stranded color work project and then sticking in the clip of me saying this in black and white, looking really sad, or maybe with sad music in the background. I'm showing off blankets because I get to show you the first ball of yarn, well, the first skein of yarn, but I've got it caked up now, that I've bought in a very long time. And it's a very special ball of yarn. As far as I can tell, this is, or was now that I've purchased it, the final skein of Illuminati Royal 1 Royal Alpaca in the colorway Burgundy, available in the entire world. I had to purchase this in Canada in a website that was entirely in French, and they didn't offer tracking, and frankly I'm shocked that it got here, but it got here. It's the right color. I'm very happy. Here's why I needed this. I have been looking since January for just a little bit of yarn with which to finish this blanket. My birthday is in January. I'm a Capricorn, as we have discussed in the past. And they had a Capricorn colorway, and I'm a Capricorn, which you wouldn't know because one of the things that's supposed to be true about Capricorns is that we're good with money, and this is all of the yarn that I've purchased in less than a year and a half. And I bought myself a really lovely recliner for my office as a birthday present this year. And one of the things that I wanted to do for myself for my birthday was knit a blanket to go on my lap when I'm in this recliner in winter, because I really wanted a nice chair to knit in, and I really wanted to be warm and cozy while I was knitting. And it seemed like a great idea to do this for my birthday, because again, my birthday is in January. It is currently July. I went with the idea that I mentioned in a previous video of this sort of peekaboo baby blanket is my go-to. Something that's just very, you might be able to tell from sort of my style. I'm very into like mid-century modern. So I thought these were really great, warm, cozy colors that would go with my office while sort of having that mid-mod vibe. So you can sort of, there we go. Yeah, okay. So you can see it's sort of diagonal on the bias. What I've been doing was I had a bunch of different colors of the Illimani Royal Alpaca. They're not variegated colors, they're all solid, but I've been holding them with this Art Yarns Merino Cloud. You can knit this anywhere between fingering and DK weight because of the loft, but it's a combo of superfine merino and cashmere. And so this is making just absolutely the softest, fuzziest, most luxurious blanket that I've ever touched. I'm really, really happy with how it turned out, how it's turning out. I think the size is really good. It's what I want to drape over my lap when I'm knitting in the winter. But the stripes, you'll notice, are not even. They're not what I would consider to be, you know, even I'll be honest, I went by vibe. And when I got bored with a color, I would switch to a different color. Or when it seemed like it was probably the right length, I would switch. So as you might imagine, what this led to was me running out of the color that I started with up here, the burgundy. This would not have been an issue if burgundy Illimani Royal Alpaca hasn't been sold out globally since I ran out of yarn. So I finally got really fed up, and I spent, I think, an hour and a half scouring the internet, scouring Ravelry, scouring eBay, looking at various websites until I found one in French that was Canadian that had one skein of burgundy left, and I purchased it. So I'm really looking forward to finally being able to finish this blanket, even if I'm definitely not going to be having it on my lap anytime soon, because just holding it here is making me sweaty. So yeah, that's the state of my whips. What have we learned this episode? We've learned that you really need to check to make sure that you're using the needles that you think you're using before you get knitting. We've learned that fixing drop stitches in lace is really hard, but that doing lace isn't as hard as you thought it was if you just did a little bit of swatching first. And we've learned that the heat wave is going to kill me eventually, but that's fine. So if you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing. I'm a relatively small channel, so every new subscription, every new comment really means a lot to me. It means a lot to me that you hung out until the end of this kind of weird whip video. And I hope you're keeping cool or keeping warm, whichever one you wish you were keeping. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.